LPT, before buying something, ask yourself 2 questions. Where will I store this thing? And, how difficult will it be to clean this thing?
I have a small apartment and the storage question in particular has helped prevent a lot of unnecessary purchases.
My mountain bike hates this pro tip.
And I always find super, can I afford this thing if I lost my job tomorrow?
How do you clean ice cream?
I am buying bagels. They will be stored in my belly. I have no plans to clean them after they enter my belly. The product that leaves my system is not classified as a bagel and would be something different to clean.
That's why I got rid of my Iron Maiden. Realistically, I was only torturing 1 or 2 people a year and it didn't add up.
Where were you before I impulse bought my commercial cotton candy machine?
How will I get rid of it, is a good one too. How much hassle will this be to bring to the dump, have someone pick up?
Sounds like someone just bought their first toy and is only now asking themselves these questions.
How am I going to get rid of it when I no longer want it?
Would have been useful before getting a baby.
Please tell my wife. End of rant, thanks.
My wife has only used her $1,000 plus KitchenAid like 10 times in 4 years, and yet she supposedly loves it. It takes up a huge chunk of counter space.
Speaking for my fellow Americans, the answer is probably no. LPT. Check the return policy on the receipt.
Store it in the bathtub. 2 birds with 1 stone.
Instead of trying to sell it, I'll post a picture of it on my neighborhood FB group and say, free. It's usually gone within a day. Feed 2 birds with 1 scone.
Do I really need it?
I always ask myself a question, will I use it or I just buy it because I can? It prevents me from wasting my money on unnecessary things.
Yeah, that hits close to home, to my friend's home. Someone close to me had to sell his brand new motorbike after being laid.
Pick up 2 turds with 1 cone.
The collector's edition Millennium Falcon that I bought during May the 4th sale also hates this pro tip.
Also ask yourself, how many times will I actually use this thing? Could I rent or lease it cheaper? Could I ask a friend to borrow his for a case of beer?
Sweats in buying another Lego set.
Sage advice here. I remember when I spent like $400 on a Bissell big green cleaning machine. I was so psyched. And my AC guy who was here when it arrived said, "You gonna use that? Or is it just gonna take up space in the garage?" It's been 4 years and I've used it maybe twice face with diagonal mouth.
My wife hates this pro tip.
With your tongue.
Storing and cleaning wives, what a hassle.
Really interesting to see how this changes through life. Where will I store this thing? Used to be a very important question when I lived in apartments or was moving a lot. Now I'm more established and, how difficult will it be to clean this thing, is more pertinent. Both are and have always been good. Valid questions, but it makes me wonder what questions will be beneficial in future decades.
Hey buddy, we aren't all brokies.
Not entirely. You get rid of it with 0 effort. Couches, bookshelves, bags of baby clothes, kids' bicycles, I didn't lift a finger getting them out of my house. Overthinking the concept of need is a slippery though. How much joy will this bring me in the next year? Is a better question.
Hospitals won't repossess babies, even if you don't pay.
Eventually the baby should be self-cleaning, might take a while to get there though.
Made a ton of aspirational purchases before I learned to ask myself first, do you really want this, or do you just want to be the type of person who wants this?
When did I write this?
My brother-in-law did the opposite. Got laid off and bought 2 motorbikes. He then asked several family members for help with paying.
Only 60% of us live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, our kitchen is at the stage of before any purchase. We ask ourselves, if we buy this, what are we getting rid of to make room for it?
Totally agree. I'm a particularly pack-ratty type person and moving to a studio shared with my extremely OCD, neat and tidy boyfriend has curbed my spending habits so nicely. I start too many projects and never dealt with that before I had to. Lol.
Cheap power tools. You give them away for free, so you're better off buying more expensive tools that actually have resale value and more utility to begin with.
Don't you know? Every American has million in student loan debt, makes has 12 roommates, pays $5,000 per month in rent, and gets shot at least 20 times a day.
Just a note, stores like Home Depot or Lowe's sell concrete blocks that are cheap. Buying is probably way easier than pouring it yourself, if it's not going to be fixed into the ground.
Same as my closet.
I wish my wife would ask, where will my husband store this? And, how difficult will it be for my husband to clean this? And, how much a pain in the ass will it be for my husband to mow around this?
It saved me from buying a house. How the am I going to store a house in my apartment?
Joke's on you, I already can afford it with my job.
I'm moving to a new house. My wife, and TBH also me, was not aware just how much Lego I had in my hobby room. Turns out that it's pretty close to half a ton. Also comes right back to the second question about cleaning, as I wasn't aware just how much dust got through the gaps of the glass cabinets over the years, and now I have about 50 big, 1,000 plus bricks each, sets that would need cleaning.
The other 40% don't even have a paycheck to live from check to check.
I used to live in a tiny flat in London with my ex, and one day she brought home an adult stuffed. Had never appreciated how large peacocks are until then.
Now that I have a baby, while I appreciate people getting her gifts, I really wish they'd ask themselves if I have room to store the tons of cheap plastic they buy her.
Unless you're not the type of person who will actually go through the hassle of reselling them, then you might as well get cheap tools, because it's easy to give things away for free.
Get 2 birds at Ricky.
Get out of there. It's 2023.
This is why I'm here. An example. A little knowledge of how to repair small engines can get you free yard tools for life, because throwing away a lawnmower, snowblower, chainsaw, string trimmer etc. is a pain in the butt, and no one asks themselves this question. So there is no shortage of people who will literally give them away for free if you're willing to get them. Lots of people with stuff they have because it's just too hard to get rid. I got a big $200 carpet cleaner vacuum thing at one point, and fell into the same trap. Thing was disgusting, broke, went in the "I gotta fix this someday" pile for 4 years, and I literally couldn't give it away despite multiple attempts. Eventually I took the motor out and tossed the rest. Felt bad.
In 2015, it would be great advice. We have states outlawing telling people closets exist.
My wife does a little too much clothes shopping for herself, so when she asks me what I think about her getting something, I always say, we have no more room in our closet. Can you pick 2 things from the closet that you'll get rid of to make room for it? And about 75% of the time she doesn't buy it. And even if she does, we end up with 1 extra thing out of the closet.
It's usually better to buy the cheap one first. If you use it often enough that it wears down and needs to be replaced, you know that's a tool worth investing money in. There is a huge difference between cheap and expensive power tools these days. Resale value isn't going to make up the gap between a $50 drill and a $250 one. If you're buying something that is probably a one-time use, but it's going to be a big job where you really need the nice one, then just rent it from a hardware store.
Don't you worry about blank, let me worry about blank.
Rule of thumb for me is always, no single-use items unless you'll use it to LOT. The amount of times people want to get me an Instapot or an air fryer or a breakfast sandwich maker, and I'm just, guys, do you see my tiny kitchen? I already have an oven and a crock.
My wife and 3 kids wanted a new dog. I said if we get another dog we have to get rid of one of the animals we already. My wife and 2 kids have a new dog.
Worst case.
This is amazing. 2?
My guy, it took me 4 months to sell my SUV just to end up selling it to a friend. And I had countless people asking about it, and 2 people even drove it. And guess what? Once it was marked as sold on the marketplace, 2 people who had looked previously was like, no I was totally gonna hit you.
My wife has forbidden me from washing my bike in the bathtub as I did when I lived. Unfortunate, as it's really the perfect spot.
Air fryer worth the space.
You sound like my husband with my perfectly and thoughtfully placed hydrangea bush carrot. Asterisk, he does not agree with this statement.
I mean, H has got to do something with his newly found freedom, and spending it with his kid is going to make some forever memories. What an irresponsibly wholesome.
A PSA for those who are new to wrenching on their own vehicles. The major auto parts chains, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Advanced Auto, etc., all offer free loaner tools. Instead of rushing out to buy a specific toolset you'll likely use a handful of times in your life, you can borrow the tools for free. You pay a deposit on your card and you're issued a refund once you've returned the item.